Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, you weirdos. Jim here. And while this news isn't quite breaking, it was from a couple days ago, we're hitting the sound anyway. Because this is about NYX or NYX, the new and third book that they announced this week that are coming out in From the Ashes era of the X-Men. I did hear about this a little early. I ended up putting up a post on YouTube here about it, but what I had heard was just, hey, there's going to be a Young Mutants book by Lanzing and Kelly that will star Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel. I could have, extrapolated that into the idea that it would be this NYX or NYX, but I ended up being busy for a couple days and I didn't get to do a video. So here I am to do the video so we can discuss the news here and what this all could be. And if anybody's excited about this book, I'm not seeing that much excitement. And I have been criticized in the past of being a negative Nancy, but I want people to be excited about these things, but I can't force that on anybody if I can't even force it on myself. So here is from the Marvel official press release that starts with, a dangerous mutant scene explodes on the mean streets of NYX. And if you don't know about NYX NYX, it is a section. It's a part of Mutant Town in New York City, District X. And in the past, there were books. We'll get into that in a little bit, maybe discuss a little bit about the past of the property. But the big idea of this is anybody that fired up about this book returning? Yeah, and also the creative team involved as well, because we'll continue setting the X-Men's upcoming From the Ashes era. NYX, I'm just going to keep calling it NYX because it reminds me of Patrick Ewing and it makes me smile, by Colin Kelly, Jackson Lanzing, and Francesco Martorino, reinvents what it means to be a mutant this July. With Xavier's school long gone and Krakoa destroyed, the greatest city on Earth is about to get a huge influx of mutants. Are they talking about London? Oh, New York. I get it. Whether they're welcome there or not. And see, that's the rub here. The NYX book, it's all about mutants, unwanted mutants. In the original deal, homeless mutants. They didn't have a home. And it seems like this whole thing with Orcus and the Krakoa era is going to end with a lot of down and out mutants that are looked at as muty scum. So that's kind of going to be the play of this, whether they're welcome or not. As they said, see a group of former X-Men students navigate young adulthood, discrimination, and threats bent on shattering human-mutant relations for good in NYX, a new ongoing series from Hotshot writing duo. Hotshot, everybody's a hotshot in these things. I think they even said, like, we don't like that Jim, but he's a hotshot. That guy's a hotshot. Writing duo Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing. Now, I've gone on the record to say that Jackson Lanzing and Colin Kelly, not my favorite writers. I find them a little bit bland. I get the idea that when they jump on a book, they usually kind of like meld them and mold themselves into trying to be like another writer, like the best writer on that book. I mean, one of the things right now is their Outsiders book at DC, and you can tell they're just trying to ape Warren Ellis. And why I say this, and I've asked people a bunch of times about this, is the idea of, if I said to you, what is Lansing and Kelly? What would you say their writing style is? How would you describe it? Because, you end up saying to somebody like, hey, describe to me Grant Morrison. And they'll be like, oh my God, the guy's wacky and he's got this. You have things that you would start saying about certain writers. Or, oh my, a Tom King. Boy, he deals in depression and he likes to. But when I ask people, what's Lansing and Kelly, they kind of just like, they sit there and look and they're like, you know what? I don't really know how I would explain what their writing is. And they've done enough. They've done enough things that you certainly could. Most people, if they end up at the end of that, they say, well, they're kind of boring. As I said, kind of bland. So hopefully, but again, I don't want to be too negative. Hopefully this is just the book that they've been waiting to write. Now, here's what gets me though, because this is the official press release, and they say a new ongoing series from hotshot writing duo Colin Kelly and Jackson Lanzing. They always will mention books then after that. Now, the Lanzing and Kelly, I don't know if you're down with me, like they've written some bigger books like Captain America or Guardians of the Galaxy. These are properties that you would think is their right front and center that you would throw out there to tell people, oh my God, these guys are big time. That we say hotshot, we need big time hotshot because they were on both Captain America, Guardians of the Galaxy, a bunch of other things. No, they mentioned Timeless, which they just jumped on because Jed McKay's too busy, and Alien, Black, White, and Blood, an anthology of a gimmick. Those are the things. And in my mind, I don't think that they're unaware that Lanzing and Kelly were on Cap or Guardians of the Galaxy. I think the Cap stuff they avoid because people didn't like it and actually like might avoid things then. The Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it's just so boring that they end up, nobody cares. The idea that they name those, I swear, it's very telling in a press release that they don't mention the big properties. But that's, like I said, I'm not a fan of them. I don't hate them. I just get bored with them. And so I'm kind of like, that's a miss for me. But I'm Rising Star artist Francesco Martorino, Avengers, Cult of Carnage, Misery. I actually like Martorino's art enough. Now, this whole thing of this NYX/NYX, you end up having it back in the day. It was a Joe Quesada book, horribly delayed. 7 issues came out. It took 2.5 years, I believe, to actually get 7 issues out. So that kind of had problems there. But it was the first comic book appearance of X-23 Laura after the X-Men Evolution cartoon. So that was kind of cool. And it had this team that we're going to get and announce here. It's not the team from before, but you do have Laura. So Laura's the only so far original character that's in it. And then after that 7 issues, you did have a 6-issue miniseries, NYX No Way Home, written by Marjorie Liu. That came out in 2008. People seem to like that enough. What they end up where that in particular was like, hey, this is like a Runaways book. It does get compared to the Runaways a lot. I think they may even mention it in this press release. But that's cool. I like the Runaways. I was planning actually on going back and trying out these issues. But again, when you have a X-Men book coming out and you're going to announce the team and you're going to announce the NYX, those are they're not going to be wow factors there. And this is the big problem I have with all of these X-Men books that have been announced, especially this week, these 3, the second round of announcements. It's not that I think they're going to be bad because I don't know. I haven't read them yet. I like to wait to read them to say that. But at this point, after the Krakoa era, after all this, you need an oomph. You need something that's going to wow people. You need something that's going to make people like, okay, I wasn't really down with the Krakoa era, or even some people at the end of it, very violent, things like that. Show me that this is new, fresh, different. And then when you get this, and this book is dealing with the discrimination and the threats from Orcus and all this, I don't think it's it, and I don't think Lansing and Kelly, while this issues might be, it's not the oomph that you need. You need people to be so wowed by these announcements that they will say, okay, I wasn't planning on doing this, because I hope Marvel realizes the idea of these are you're trying to win back a lot of people who bailed when the Krakoa era just got extended and kind of meandered and all that stuff and then got violent near the end. But I don't think these are the announcements so far to do it. But as an aside, that's a little bit of a side pocket issue. I probably will have a video just in general about the announcements so far and what I would like and whatnot, because everybody needs to hear what I would like. But we're going to get back to the press release. I did want to mention the idea of this NYX, the NYX, back in the day, but it never was anything that was, there's some people, but it's not like a huge property. It ended up having problems and then people just kind of faded away. They were going to have a sequel to that first 7 issues. They didn't have it to then just have that spinoff with Marjorie Liu. But back to this. Like the 2000s groundbreaking original series, NYX won't shy away from reflecting the harsh realities of life as a mix of iconic and fan-favorite mutants re-enter a world filled with bigotry, mistrust, and misinformation. And what I really think when I sit there and say, like, I love having fun. I don't know if you know this, but I quite like Cyndi Lauper and the girls. I just want to have fun. And what I think of fun is bigotry, mistrust, and misinformation. That's a hoot. I can't wait. Again, maybe get to the stuff down the line a little. Let's start out with it reminding people why we love these characters, not reminding people why people in the universe hate them and why you ended up not wanting to have the Krakoa, Orcus, all this stuff. This just, it feels like they're just digging in deep with something that kind of ended, right? You ended it for a reason. And I guess you would say, you have to make it work. in the universe, whatnot. But please, I wouldn't even care if they're like, we mind wiped all that Orchis crap out. I don't know. Free from the X-Men's guidance and Krakoa's protection, they'll shut out the noise and overcome the hate by doing what they do best, evolving. I thought it was going to be like dancing. But I'd love my dancing to evolve, right? I gotta hit it. If it evolved, it would actually like be bad. That would be the evolution of my dancing. I gotta keep evolving, right? I need like a fourth evolution. But if you can count on anything, it's that mutants are never all in agreement, and some are having a really hard time letting Krakoa go. Fun. Fun, I'm telling you. I can just see there's going to be one of these guys like, I really miss that Krakoa. You know, those beach parties and stuff? Pretty cool. Beach Party Krakoa. I'm going to do a movie. This is a book about mutants living past the end of their world and into a new beginning. This is Miss Marvel embracing her mutant life in the neon streets of the Lower East Side. This is a Knoll trying to keep his head above water. This is Wolverine, X-23. I love that they, just say Wolverine. They're trying to trick you. In the shadows of Bushwick. Is Bushwick Bill there? Maybe. Protecting her own. I think he may have died. This is Prodigy writing history as it happens. Maybe singing Firestarter. And Sophie Cuckoo finding her own way. Yep. The news reports are bleak. The streets feel dangerous. There's something lurking underground. If it's New York City, yeah, there definitely is. I'm from the Philadelphia area, and we tend to not like New York City. I do like New York City, but we kind of get jealous of the old NYC. So I'm jealous of NYX. Evil coming from every direction, but they're determined to make it. This is mutant community. This is mutant pride. This is NYX, NYX. Oh, yeah. Like, again, that whole thing doesn't really get me that excited, but maybe these quotes will. Here's Colin Kelly. This is the kind of book we came to Marvel to create. Really? Like it wasn't Cap or Guardians of the Galaxy? It was this? Wasn't Thunderbolts? When the Hive Mind first formed, Colin and I bonded over books like Runaways, Young Avengers, and the original NYX stories that showcase that tense, wonderful place where the mundane world and Marvels collided. There's no way they bonded over NYX. What you're doing here, this is where I've been told, where if you have something, and it happens all the time, oh, that's a mix of, Chuck E. Cheese and a Big Mac. I don't know why that, but that means that your thing is not really unique or whatever. And him saying at first, like, hey, we bonded over Runaways, Young Avengers. And that original NYX that had a couple issues. Yeah, I think you more bonded over Runaways and Young Avengers. That's fine. Showcase the tense, wonderful place where the mundane worlds and Marvels collided. And no book has embodied that more in recent years than Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan. No book. There's been like 20. Miss Marvel Kamala Khan is one of the most defining protagonists in the Marvel canon, and we're deeply honored to be inheriting the character from Aman Vellani and Sabir Perzada. You don't mention G. Willow Wilson, right? While chronicling a whole new phase in her growth as a young adult. Obviously, Aman being the actress or actor who plays Miss Marvel. I think they threw that in because they're like, I hope people don't, railed in on us doing this character, but that's fine. But yeah, book. I'm telling you, I hope they don't think there was just one Miss Marvel book. The opportunity to take on these characters is both an incredible challenge and an amazing honor, Lanzing added. Sophie, Knoll, and Prodigy have been personal favorites since their time on the New Mutants and New X-Men. In a sense, we become who we are right alongside them. Really? You and Colin Kelly, you just like them. I get it, right? They're evolving. They're evolving, all right? Maybe they should evolve that writing. But in that, too, I would love, at some point, I may just do something like hey, this is what I call, press release 101, and see all the books that they've been on where they're like, we grew up bonding over the Cap. We grew up in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's all the same. This is why, again, a lot of people, why don't you have interviews and whatever? First off, nobody likes me. But besides that, it's because nobody gives real answers. They give nonsense. Returning Laura to NYX, while in a radically different context that centers her heroism over her victimhood, that feels like the chance to really bring the character full circle and help her grow into the next phase of her life. She doesn't seem to fit on this book. I mean, I get what you're doing, but that was then, this is now. It seems kind of odd, but to continue with more quotes and to end with a quote. I was a big fan of Joe Quesada and John Middleton's version, so I was thrilled when editor Annalise Bissa asked me to little name drop there from Mortarino. He knows who's paying the bills. They wanted them to draw NYX. I'm so glad to have the opportunity to work on characters like X-23 and Miss Marvel. And NYC is a location that I love. So I'm eager to deliver the city vibe. See, if I'm doing an interview and he's like, NYC, I love it. I'm like, oh, what's your favorite district? You know, you like the 5 boroughs you down there? Like, yeah, what is your deal? And then that's when they start hemming and hawing. And then admit, like, I don't even know what NYC means. They just told me to say it. The vibes that I would see in books like Daredevil and Spider-Man. I've been really enjoying Jackson and Colin's scripts, and I can't wait to bring them to life. I would hope you are enjoying them, right? And that he didn't say like he's fallen asleep reading them, so that's positive, I guess. Yeah, again, what I'm saying here, and I'm not trying to be real, I'm trying to goof. I'm goofing. I'm a goofer. But in the whole play of this is that this isn't the oomph. Like these books and these creative teams, the idea that people say, oh man, like Hawks and Pox, that was awesome, Hickman. But when Hickman left, all he left were these writers like Teenie Howard, Leah Williams, these sort of things. These are what are now the first, like this is the first round of announcements. Like how is this the first thing of these? It doesn't make much sense overall to have these be what we start with. This is, again, kind of the book that you would imagine would be the 10th book announced after we get the big teams, the big books. But these are frontline things, and it's not an oomph announcement. I don't think that Lanzing and Kelly, which I didn't say, but they seem like really, really nice guys. I have talked to them in the past, probably hate me now, but they are really nice, and I wish the best for them. It's just that a lot of their stuff ends up boring me, and I'm afraid that this is kind of a shrug your shoulders announcement, that nobody's like, oh my God, I need to get this book now, but I may be wrong. But that's why we have comments, and that's why I ask you to comment down below and let me know if this is a book that you're excited for, if this is something you've been waiting for all your life. Did you grow up bonding with your best friend about the NYX deal? I don't know. Possibly the New York Knicks. That's why I like saying Knicks. Again, maybe you bonded over them. And like you hate Reggie Miller so much right now that you still call your buddy up to this day and say, I hate that Reggie Miller. Get Spike Lee on the line. Let's get going. Let's get that Reggie Miller. So maybe that's the deal. See, that would work. But let me know in the comments about all these. And with all of that, I will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.